Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Dynasty Dudez. This week we have, of course, my friend and co-host Russell Clay on. We didn't kick him out yet, and we have
Somehow.
our football guys writer Jeff Haseley. How's it going tonight, fellas? Or this afternoon, or whatever time of the day we're in.
Whatever this is. I mean, it's just some
Yeah, dude.
time.
It's
It's
great,
basic.
man. Thanks for having me on. Definitely appreciate it, being able to talk football with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We were last week we started a list of guys that to have on the show, and I was like, man, I've known Jeff basically ever since I got on Twitter. Like even when I was an egg, he was following me somehow. And I was like, we got to get him on. So that was my mission for the week. So you're here. So mission accomplished. I guess we can just
We can
talk about nothing for the next hour, right?
That's right, and we'll like it.
All right. So I guess give everyone an intro of who you are, sort of how you found Football Guys, and what got you into fantasy football, I guess.
Oh wow. Well, it goes back way back actually into the 90s when I started playing fantasy football. Back with Warren Moon and Chris Warren as
Jesus.
players. Yeah, Jerry Rice, Carl Pickens. Just some from really just taking you back a little bit in time. I mean, those were the types of players that we had on our teams back then, and it just kind of grew from there. And footballguys.com was a site that I used a lot to just to learn more about fantasy football, and primarily their message boards. And
Right.
I was on their message boards for a long time, and that used to be, before Twitter and before social media really took off. Those message boards was the main place to go get your information,
Right.
and it was a very popular place for people like myself. And I just kind of found a niche there. I started writing some stats-related articles, not really articles, just posts, right? But it got like a following. People are like, "When are you going to post again about this?" and so it turned into like a one every week thing, and so I mean that became more and more popular, and the next thing I know, it was the summer of 2007. And I got a phone call out of the blue, literally out of the blue, from David Dodds, who's the owner of football, one of the owners of Football Guys. He and Joe Bryant co-own, and that was a big thing. Oh my gosh, David Dodds.
Yeah, now wait a second, hold on. Now getting a random phone call from David Dodds is not an everyday occurrence.
No,
right?
no, it's not. No, and apparently, they were looking to ramp up the staff at that point, and they appreciated my writing style, my ability, and of course my knowledge of the game and everything. He offered me an opportunity to join the staff, and I was like, oh my gosh, wow! There's no way, absolutely, I can say no to that. I mean, how can you not, join such a great staff in terms of people who were already there. I mean, Sigmund Bloom and Cecil Lammy. This was before Matt Waldman got there, but just a lot of Moral Tremblay. A lot of Jeff Pasquino. A lot of names that I really looked up to. And now they're asking me to join the staff. I'm like, yeah, sure. Where do I sign? Yeah, so that was my beginning with Football Guys, and I've been with them ever since. And I do a lot of different things with them.
Yeah, you mentioned ramping up the 2015 site or something. Do you work with them on that, or is that just talking about articles and stuff?
Ramping up the 2015 site. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but
in the DM. I guess it was just an article you were working on or something.
oh, okay. Still trying to remember what I said, but I mean, as far as my involvement, I'm doing rankings and of course, comments on players. I help out with the team and the player pages for several different teams.
Hmm.
Most notably, recently, the Indianapolis Colts and the Houston Texans. So anything that happens in regards to that, I'm on the ball, and I'm someone who needs to make adjustments and changes on as far as comments that are on the site for each player. All kinds of different things. During the season, I usually write 2 or 3 articles a week.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Nice.
and just kind of help out whatever I can. We do mock drafts with the staff in the off season, and I run those. I manage that, so that's a lot of fun. In fact, I think you've been in a couple of those yourself.
Yep.
So there's a
I
lot
guess
that I do.
no big deal or anything.
You what?
Say again?
I said I guess I missed my invite.
I think those were like from years ago too, yeah. But
Yeah, that's true. Now that we have like literally 45, 50 people on staff, it's hard to uh, it's hard to have a mock where we have we don't
yeah,
have, so there's definitely an abundance of staff members willing and waiting to participate in these mock drafts and such. So, but it's a great company to be a part of. Number one, I mean, it's such a great hobby. But two, I mean, it's really run well by Joe and Dave, and we're all like a family. It's almost like a fraternity.
Did you go to that infamous what was it, the Vegas trip?
Yeah, every year. Every year, we have plenty of stories to tell.
Yeah, no, we've heard stories.
What have you?
That's for after the show.
Yeah, that's post-show talk.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You can follow us on the post-show website link. No, but yeah, we have a lot of fun, and we're a close, tight-knit family, and it's great that we can all get together like that every year in Las Vegas for the NFL playoffs, either the wild card round or this past year was the divisional round, and it's just a bunch of guys getting together, hanging out, seeing each other for the first time, sometimes in a year, with the exception of podcasts here and there. But for the most part, we're all over the country, all over the world. Actually, we have people in Europe as well.
It's funny how the European writers are slowly trickling in. Like there's more and more I see. So that's a good thing. I don't know if that's a gauge of sort of it growing over there or just a new level of degenerates. But
I don't know, but it's really amazing to see the level of interest and dedication. Because I mean, we're watching the games. I'm on the East Coast, watching the games. Just a Monday night or a Sunday night game. Stretch into midnight or so.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about stretching into 4:30, 5 o'clock for these guys over there.
Yeah.
So I mean, talk about dedication. Wow,
Right.
it's impressive, and there's a lot. We really have 3 or 4, I think, Europeans on staff, and each of them, they're all great and good guys. So
that's awesome. And yeah, it is amazing how many people have sprouted up through the shark pool and sort of made their way somehow. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
But let's talk some Dynasty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the big news of the week. I know we've all talked it to death, but let's talk it to death some more. Deflategate and the suspension of Tom Brady for 4 games. We can go both Dynasty and redraft outlook here of Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo. What are we thinking? We'll start with you, Jeff.
Well, if we're looking at Dynasty here, I don't think there's that much of a huge deal that we're looking at here with Tom Brady's small suspension. I actually don't think there's that much of a deal in redraft, and we'll get to that in a second. But as far as Dynasty is concerned, I think Brady has at least 2 more good years left in him, and that might even stretch. I mean, he just seems like the type of player who has a chip on his shoulder every time. We see how he wears his emotions on his sleeve. We know that as much success as he's had, he still has a yearning and desire for more. And as long as he has the ability, I think he's still going to be a quarterback for the Patriots, and that's just not going to go away. And they're always going to have weapons for him, and he's going to have strong games, strong seasons, and something's going to have to happen, an injury or some just just a diminishing of his skills in order for him to take a step back and think, hey, do I want to be quarterback here anymore? But I think he at least has 2 more good solid years, and therefore, as a dynasty player, I would at least put him in the top 15. I mean, you kind of have to, just because, in my opinion, dynasty is a lot of win now and prepare for the future. Well,
Right.
Brady's your answer to win now. And if you have a Brady on your squad, on your roster, and then maybe you have like a Tannehill or
Hmm.
perhaps a Mariota or even a Jameis Winston, right? Where you can just kind of build your team for the future and just kind of ride Brady's coattails as long as you can. I think that's great. And if you can if you maybe you want to improve your team in other areas and you have a quarterback that you can start in his place and you have the ability to trade him, then I think absolutely you can do it. And now's a great time to do it because he's going to be talked about and probably in a lot of different trades. Number one, his career is kind of in the autumn of his career, right? And just the fact that people have questions about how what are they going to do? Maybe they are short on a quarterback and they need somebody, or who knows what. So I mean, there's lots of reasons for trades. So in that regard, I still like Brady as a dynasty quarterback, but if you want to win now or improve your team and try to trade him, redraft. I think that probably the 4 games is going to be reduced to 2 or 3 games, in my opinion, and he'll be back before we know it. In an era right now in fantasy football where quarterbacks, are, I don't want to say a dime a dozen, but it seems like the top 3, might kind of stretch themselves ahead of everybody else. But when you get past that, I mean, the Tony Romos, the Matt Ryans, the Cam Newtons, even the Matt Staffords, just throwing a name in like that, it really depends on who, what your matchups are for those weeks that Brady is going to be out. Because, I mean, you could potentially just fill him in, fill the void with somebody, and be just fine. So in that regard, I don't think that the news of Brady's suspension is that big of a deal, fantasy speaking.
Right, I'm with you. I think in a dynasty situation, I think you can buy him now for cheaper than he should be going just because of those 4 games and the potential chance of that. And in redraft, I mean, like you said, just patch together something the first few weeks, and then you have potentially a high-end quarterback 1 sitting there waiting for you. So that's definitely a buy for me right now. What do you think, Nathan?
Well, I think the real shark move here is to approach the Brady owner and try to sell him another veteran quarterback, because he might be scrambling. He might be saying, "Oh, what am I going to do without Brady?" And of course, I'm not sure if Russell's getting my joke here, but I sold him Tony Romo because he was playing during the Tom Brady news, and the official suspension hadn't come out yet. But anyways, I'll give my real take with Brady. I think he's going to be a bargain redraft that I'll be getting my shares in MFL 10s and in just my one home redraft league as these things as his ADP drops. But it's basically how far it drops. What it was like 8th, 9th round before the suspension. He might drop to the 11th, 12th round, and in the 12th round, it's like those quarterbacks like Alex Smith and Joe Flacco. It's like I'd much rather have Brady, who I see as a top 5 ceiling. Once he returns from the 2, 3, 4, whatever, however many games it ends up being.
Yeah, it's not really like a Le'Veon Bell situation where he's your first round pick and he's missing games. It's like he's not necessarily in a position where you need to start him week 1. So there's not much risk and there's potentially a lot of reward. So that's definitely a situation I like. Quickly, what do you guys think of Gronk? And if Brady is out 3 to 4 games, do you think he'll see a drop-off in production those first 4 weeks, or is that not really a consideration? I mean, obviously you're not drafting him because of that, but do you think there could be a dip in production?
Go ahead.
My take on what Gronk does the first 4 games. There's always the stereotype or bias, I don't know what the right word is, that the backup quarterback always goes to the head, because that's the easy thing to throw to or whatever. Well, I mean, most studies have shown that's not really that true, but there are studies that show they go to their best weapon because that's what they want to do. If you're not that good, here's the one guy I can throw to. I'm gonna throw to him, and that's what I don't really. Maybe there's a drop in efficiency, like he gets 8 targets and only catches 4 passes, but I think that he still gets his numbers, and I'm not dropping him in any sort of ranking at all.
Yeah, I think there is a little bit of cause for concern here in these games because I think New England's going to go with their strength, and if Garoppolo's
run the ball,
that may not be the strength. So yeah, the answer there is to run the ball with LeGarrette Blount. Of course, he's suspended, right, from Pittsburgh.
The first game, yeah.
But they got Jonas Gray, Tavares Cadet. So I mean they have options, and I wouldn't be surprised if the running game just kind of sees an uptick in production during that time. Sure, they're going to have timely passes to Edelman, to LaFell, and Gronkowski as well, but I don't think we're going to see Garoppolo be forced to potentially, win games with his arm.
Mm-hmm.
They're either going to lose those games, right?
Basically, yeah. If he's throwing a lot, they're in trouble.
Right. So I don't see him as a huge strong play, especially like in daily leagues too.
Yeah.
Daily games, weeks, I should say. It's so weird to say daily weeks.
Right? It doesn't really add up.
Weird. Yeah. It's not, but anyway. But you're right. I just don't see the production there really in the first couple weeks. Now, first Jacksonville at home in week 3, that could be something that could be a surprise. But at the same time, with of course now with Dante Fowler's injury, but the Jaguars defense is starting to make some moves here. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, guys. I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots lose the first 1 or 2 games of the season.
Oh man, can you imagine?
Off that strong.
Remember after the Kansas City game last year, everyone was talking about how it was all over.
Yeah,
I can't imagine what it's going to be like if they lose the first 2 games of the year.
Yeah, I mean, that game at Buffalo, week 2, might be one of the hardest games that they have to play, and they'll be without Brady. And that could be a loss. And it depends on how they play against Pittsburgh in week 1. I mean, they could look at the season 0-2, staring at Jacksonville at week 3, and if they lose that, then there's going to be like, whoa. So, it's who knows, man. It's the NFL. You never know what's going to happen.
Right.
And we just kind of have to look at it and through the best glasses and lenses that we have and try to make the most of it.
Yeah, I know it's a narrative, but the last time the NFL pissed off Tom Brady, he broke the passing touchdown record. So
yeah, he's definitely coming back with a vengeance, but I do think there's going to be some panic mode in those first few weeks of the year, especially if they lose 1 or 2.
Yeah,
and that could easily happen, I think, guys.
Yeah, I do too.
All right, so let's talk some Carolina offense. What are your first of all, something I've seen a lot of lately is I've seen some Cam Newton hate from redraft and dynasty. A lot of dynasty Cam Newton hate. What are your thoughts on Cam Newton in the dynasty format?
I like Cam Newton as a dynasty quarterback. Prior to last year, he was in the top 3 among dynasty quarterbacks with Luck, Newton, Wilson, and throw Rodgers in there as well. And Breeze might have even been in there somewhat, but Breeze is kind of taking a step back, and he's out of that picture right now. But Cam Newton, I mean, first of all, he wasn't very healthy last year, and I think we saw that in the Panthers' offense, especially early on. This year, he's coming in. He's got his diploma from Auburn now. He's completely done with his schooling, right? That's what he literally was doing that in the offseason.
Wow, that's crazy.
Now he has time to focus on what? His job. So, I mean,
now that he's graduated.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, fill that in. But he's healthy now, and he is, what is he now? He's turning 26, or he will be 26.
Right.
And he's at the prime of his career. I still think that they're going to use him in that read option. He's going to get a lot of opportunities at the goal line. I mean, he's just Cam Newton. I don't think you can take that away from him. And the fact that the Panthers have, In fact, I think that they kind of hit a home run with Kelvin Benjamin last year in the draft, and he did pretty well in that regard. And for them to turn around and do the same thing with Devin Funchess, now I'm not necessarily saying that Funchess is going to be Kelvin Benjamin 2.0, but at the same time, there was a lot of people who said, if there's anyone that reminds us of Funchess, it's Kelvin Benjamin, right? So the fact that they have the two towers, or the Twin Towers is what some people are calling them.
Not the politically correct answer there.
Yeah. On the Panthers. Plus, I mean, you got a 6'6" Greg Olsen too. And he's someone that you can't forget about. So defenses are going to have a hard time deciding, okay, who are we going to cover? Especially if Funchess can come in and make some plays right off the bat. But, the one thing about the Panthers offense that I thought they really needed was a speed factor. And they currently don't have that outside of Ted Ginn. And Ted Ginn isn't the one receiver that I think of when I think of after the catch speed and playmaking ability. He's more of like a deep threat guy, can catch the ball over his shoulder and beat his defender, and get behind the defense. He's not really one to take a slant to the house. That's just not his game. And Carolina doesn't really have someone like that. And at the same time, Cam Newton is not really the right quarterback for that type of receiver. Cam Newton is the right quarterback for the types of receivers that they currently have, which is a bigger, wider catch radius receiver like Kelvin Benjamin, like Devin Funchess, like Greg Olsen. And I think that's why General Manager Dave Gettleman decided to go that route, is to complement his quarterback. And, of course, the receivers are complimenting him as well. Cam is not the most accurate quarterback, and you kind of need to have an accurate quarterback when you're throwing to speedy wide receivers, like a Brandon Cooks or like a Victor Cruz in his prime.
Right.
Someone who can get the ball, run. When was the last big gain that you saw from Carolina on like a quick hitch and go, other than Steve Smith?
No. Oh my God. I don't think I remember one.
Right. So, I mean, that's just not their game. That's not really their game plan. So, could they have used a guy like a Devin Smith or a Philip Dorsett? Actually, I don't think Philip Dorsett's that kind of receiver anyway. I think he's more of the deeper threat. I can catch like a Deshaun Jackson type. He's going to have a high yards per catch. He's not one of these like Kendall Wright guys, that's going to catch the ball closer to the line of scrimmage and take off. I'm losing my train of thought here.
I would I think Cam, like, it's funny how we perceived this offense last year before they drafted Kelvin, which was just what a mess. Like, they've never surrounded him with any weapons, and now a year later, I love what they've done, and I think they've surrounded him, and I think for the first time in his career, he has a full arsenal of weapons, and I don't think we've ever seen his ceiling as a fantasy player, because he's never really had. I mean, Steve Smith was great his rookie year, but we've never seen a full arsenal Cam Newton before. So I think he's a great buy right now.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so Jeff, a common perception in the fantasy and the real football Twitter community or whatever is that Benjamin isn't a good football player, but he's a good fantasy football player because of the volume. And some worry because they drafted Funchess that the volume won't be there. In the Carolina area and you as a Panthers fan, do you have a worry that Benjamin's just not good at football and that he's just a big dude who got enough volume to be fantasy relevant? Is that something you see, or what do you think on that?
Well, no, I mean, that's an excellent point, because what's now to be the story with Benjamin, now that we add, or when I say we, I hate when people do we.
The royal we.
Yeah, when they add, Devin Funchess to the mix. I think that Benjamin is going to improve upon some things that he struggled with last year, like some certain drops. He would make the hard catches and miss some of the easy ones. And during training camp, there was talk that Benjamin hasn't dropped a pass yet. And week 1, week 2, week 3, he looked great. But he still had some issues with some drops. I mean, you can't be perfect.
I think training camp is the best time of the year. Like everyone just makes you feel so good about all the players. You're like, yes, every guy's doing awesome.
Yes, that was the big story. He hasn't dropped a pass in camp. Literally, they like looked to see if he could find. Anyway, um, so I think that he's going to improve on some areas in year two, but at the same time, I don't think he's going to see the volume that he did last year. I mean, I just don't see that. Could he improve upon his
Efficiency.
overall numbers?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. If I had to project 2015 versus 2014, I'd have to say that there's going to be a decline in his numbers simply because of more options, more weapons on the Panthers' offense.
Right.
Could that even itself out with the improvement of Cam? That's a possibility, but I would say a lateral move or lower numbers going forward for Benjamin. That's just my opinion, but I do think that he'll wind up being a better receiver, a football receiver, this year than he was last year.
Gotcha. So he'll improve as a player, but the fantasy might drop a little.
Just simply because the targets are going to be shared more.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No.
What?
Go back to Cam for just a second. I think a lot of people are banging on him about being bad, like another good at fantasy, struggling in real football type thing. I think that he was hurt all of last year. So we just to see if he can stay healthy. If he's healthy right now, what does a healthy Cam Newton look like? Is he going to be what he was his rookie year, his sophomore year, whatever, or is last year more of what he looks like on the football field? It's just something I'll be watching for sure.
Yeah, I think we're going to see more of the 2012-2013 Cam as opposed to 2014.
Right. I think the general population is sort of taking him for granted right now. Mm-hmm. Like he's done some impressive stuff. Like have they made the playoffs in consecutive years? Or
what? You mean these last 2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Like that's an impressive move from
years in a row.
Yeah. So
last year it's kind of it's a asterisk.
Yeah. Well,
but, still,
did they have a winning record last year?
They were 7-8-1.
Hey, whatever.
No, they did
not.
Man,
they get as long as you get in, doesn't matter.
That Cincy game was incredible. The tie.
Oh yeah, oh boy, yes, that sure was. Cincinnati lost that game though, I think, guys. Even though they tied, that field goal was just brutal. Like 34-yard field goal, whatever it was.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right, so we'll talk about.
Football's cruel.
You said you cover the Colts a little bit for football guys. So
yeah.
Let's talk some Colts offense. Is Andrew Luck your QB1 in redraft and dynasty, or do you have Rodgers ahead of Luck?
No. I have Luck number 1 overall in redraft and in dynasty. Absolutely.
Okay, so just give us your thoughts on the Colts offense, their new weapons, and how is it going to affect their tight ends? What's your outlook for the Colts right now?
I like the Colts. I think they're doing whatever they can to do as much as they can to keep this window open for Andrew Luck to get a championship, and of course in the Colts as well. Bringing in Andre Johnson, I think, is the big part of that. I'm kind of a big fan of Johnson this year, and I've made that known. I just see Johnson as a player who has played so well, Hall of Fame worthy receiver on a Houston team for 12 years with B-level quarterbacks, and now for him to have the opportunity to, at the tail end of his career, to have that opportunity with Andrew Luck on such a prolific offense as the Colts, I think that Johnson is going to benefit greatly from that. I don't think that he had 86 catches last year, so the ability is still there. The desire is definitely there, and number one, and number two, just the fact that he's reunited with Frank Gore, 2 former University of Miami teammates, is also something that I think you don't want to forget about. Just because the camaraderie there, you're going to a training camp, a new team, you're brand new. What's it going to be like? I'm Andre Johnson, right? I'm this great high work ethic player. And it's a new team. Anytime it's a new team, sure, there's going to be question marks, but he's got Gore there, who's his buddy, who he knows from in college, and that's going to help out a lot. But I mean, not that Johnson needs that, but I just see him. I honestly could see him having a better stats year than T.Y. Hilton.
That's
And
a hot right there.
I'm kind of on the fence a little bit about this, just because I really like Hilton. And Hilton, in fact, one of the things I've mentioned about Hilton is this is his 4th year in the league. Every year that he's been in the league, he has exceeded his average draft position each year,
Wow.
which is something. And the only other receiver who was remotely close to doing that, honestly, guys, you'll probably never ever guess this, but it's Nate Washington.
Really? Now that is some trivia right there.
How about that? Yeah. But T.Y. Hilton is someone who, when he came on year one, everyone thought, rookie, let's see what he can do. Maybe he can take the top off the defender and go deep. But I mean, he turned that into more of an opportunity, became more of a possession type of receiver. And then when Reggie Wayne went down, he was called upon to, answer the bell, and he did exactly that. And last year he just kind of rose to the occasion again, and it seems like his ability to pick things up, being able to play any position as a receiver, really has helped the Colts. And so I'm a huge fan of T.Y. Hilton. And, I mean, of course, Andrew Luck is a big part of that, right? But at the same time, I mean, he's got his own talent and abilities as well. So I really like the Colts offense this year. I haven't even talked about Frank Gore yet. I think he's someone who could potentially have 220, maybe even 250 carries. If you think
And
about
in that offense, that could be
yeah.
league.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. How many goal line carries is he going to have?
Right.
I mean, Luck is not a quarterback to have a lot of touchdown passes to his receivers. In fact, almost 50% of his touchdown passes last year went to the tight end.
Right.
And, so if they're going to be that close into the in the red zone to the goal line, and Frank Gore he has a nose for the goal line like that. I think he could be an excellent fantasy pickup as a running back 3. You can get him as a running back 3 in certain cases, but I mean a running back 2. I mean he could put up running back 1 type of numbers any given week, and people are starting to forget about him.
I just look at what Ahmad Bradshaw did last year, and
Yeah.
I mean I think Gore's a better player than Bradshaw. So I don't know. Like I think it wouldn't be crazy to me if at the end of the year we look down and Gore's a top 5 to 7 running back. And I guess I don't know if that's a hot take, but I mean look at what Bradshaw did though. Like
Yeah.
he was a top 5 back, I'm pretty sure, in those weeks that he started, and then obviously got hurt. But I mean the touchdowns are just there,
Yeah. So Jeff mentioned exceeding ADP. I feel like ever since Gore was 28, he's definitely exceeded his redraft ADP because we keep on saying he's too old. He's gonna break down, and we've been saying it for 5-6 years.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's like Thomas Jones. Remember Thomas Jones? And of course, Steven Jackson, too. We were all waiting on him. But, Gore, he just has this ability. He's durable, number one. And, he just has that desire, and he's got that it factor that you want to see out of a running back where, you just know how to fall the right way or take a tackle the right way and stay away from injury. And Gore has done that so well, and Indianapolis is starving for a running back to actually, be a consistent threat. I mean, Bradshaw was good, yes, but he doesn't have that durability. When I say durability,
Right.
I'm talking about being able to escape injury, but also being able to handle the load.
Right.
And Gore can do that.
Yeah.
Great pickup. How about the fact that what was the everything all unraveled right when Philadelphia decided that they wanted to bring Gore in, and it looked like he was going to go there, and then things changed and they got DeMarco Murray, and Gore went to Indianapolis. Just the way that all pieced together, amazing. I think the Colts got away with a big find there.
And I'm happy Andre finally got a quarterback. All right, go ahead, Nate.
So one last thing on the Colts with Philip Dorsett in Dynasty. Is this a sign of time to sell Hilton? or is this a thing with like just like what they did, the Packers did with Cobb? They're just bringing in another weapon type of thing.
I think Dorsett is going to have more of a role type of receiving role. From the get go. I don't think we're going to see a lot of him. I don't think we're going to see a lot of snap counts from him. But he will have the ability, of course, to stretch that defense and get behind the defense. And so I think we're going to see a little bit of kind of a minimal role from him in year one. But at the same time, I don't think he replaced T.Y. Hilton. I'm not sure if I really like that type of pick for the Colts, especially them spending a first round pick on him. I thought maybe a different type of receiver would be a better option, especially when you already have a deep threat and a speedster in Hilton.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts on the Colts before we move on?
Yes. Andre Johnson, I'm very happy he finally got a quarterback. I wanted it to happen last year, but a year later is better than nothing, so I'll take it.
Yeah.
All right, well, on to a different team in the AFC South. We're going to talk both their running backs and wide receivers, so Titans fans, get ready.
Let me get my throw-up bucket. Hold on.
Titans.
We'll start with the running backs. They brought in David Cobb as a fifth-round pick, and then they obviously brought in Sankey last year in the second round. I'm still of the belief that Sankey is the guy who has the better shot at being the lead back. And RotoViz wrote up this week that Sankey and Cobb are so cheap, just grab them both, and there's a good shot that you're going to have an RB2 right there. So what are our thoughts on the Titans backfield other than what I just said?
I think that's an interesting idea. I'm not against that because, like you said, they're so cheap. Why not grab both and protect yourself? But I don't know. I've been grabbing Sankey. I think he's a good value. I mean, I wasn't his biggest fan coming out, but we'll see. I think he gets a chance this year, I don't really think he got a legitimate opportunity last year, and I think this year we'll at least get to find out what he is, So I think he's worth the risk right now in pretty much all formats.
Yeah, if I had to choose between Sankey and David Cobb, I would lean Sankey as well, just because he's the incumbent. He's coming in with more experience. Cobb is a little bit, of course, a bigger back, and may see some goal line carries and such. But Sankey, I think, is their future, and they want to see what they have in him. Perhaps year one wasn't the greatest, but how many times have we seen running backs, struggle a little bit in year one, only to turn it around year two or year three? And that could just be the situation with Sankey. And it could be offensive line cohesion as well. What Mariota brings to the table.
Right.
I mean, let's face it. They didn't really have the greatest quarterback situation last year, and that.
I think his life's going to be a lot easier this year, like you mentioned, with the added weapons.
Sure, because
pretty much every position.
Because Mariota will also be a threat. And, that's one of the reasons why Atlanta had a successful running game when Michael Vick was quarterback, and Carolina had a successful running game with Cam Newton as well.
Right.
So we could see, Sankey have an uptick in production. I think it would be wrong to think otherwise, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
All right, and so when the Titans picked up Dorial Green-Beckham in the second round, a lot of people saw that as waving the white flag on Justin Hunter on the Titans' part. But, I mean, there have been reports from the Titans beat guy that they still like Hunter. They still think that he could have a third-year breakout. Any thoughts on that receiving core as a whole?
Yeah, I do think that Dorial Green-Beckham is going to give Justin Hunter a run for the money, and that battle is going to be one of the bigger battles in training camp this year. And let's not forget about Harry Douglas too. I like him in that lineup with that team. And Kendall Wright, of course, being a large part of that offense, and then there's also Delaney Walker too. So I mean, they have weapons. They have weapons, and there's some opportunity in the receiving core for Tennessee, especially if the quarterback position pans out. But I would tend to think that right now, I think Hunter may have the early edge over Dorial and Green Beckham, but we could see a big change, come training camp, come preseason. And I think it all just depends on consistency and who can pick up if Beckham can pick up the plays and understand the offense, then I think he might get the edge. But right now, it has to be Hunter, right? Just because he's the incumbent and he's one who's used to the offense. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm so tired of the Justin Hunter conversation because I loved him so much, and then last year happened, and it's just like, all right, like if it happens, it happens, but I'm looking at this a little pessimistically at this point. There just wasn't much um,
Oh yeah, I mean
positive
it was all
things to
Kendall
say.
Wright and Delaney Walker last
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
And Hunter just
I
he's
think
been able to produce.
Yeah, I think he's talented. I think he's a talented player, but I don't know if he's ever going to have the consistency to put it together to be a fantasy asset.
Yeah, and the window's closing on him too.
Right. I mean, it's year three
Yeah,
now. Yeah. So I mean, he's got some more opportunities, but they're, uh, you know,
yeah. No,
it's time's running out.
I think that there's a little something to. I don't really have any stats to back this up, but like when two rookies come in together, like a Mariota and a Dorial Green Beckham, similar to a Luck Hilton or a
Yeah.
Luck Fleener, or that type of thing. When rookies come in, they have their rookie mini camp together. I think that they can sort of build a rapport, and I think that
Right.
Wright could have a decent dip in targets because Mariota is looking towards Green Beckham a lot as soon as he gets on the field. Which some people think that Mettenberger starts week one, which I think is definitely a possibility with the way Mariota is trying to, adjust to the style of the NFL. But
That'd be interesting if they chose to go in that direction. That'll be very interesting.
You've got two
If they
different
do.
quarterback styles, two very different quarterback
Yeah,
styles, one end of the spectrum from the other, and the offense is going to be run based on whichever quarterback is in there. So it could be bad news for Mettenberger or bad news for Mariota, depending on the type of offense that they decide to run.
right.
It just depends.
yeah, all right, we'll move on to an interesting. I'm not really sure how to get a gauge of it, so that's why we're talking about it here. The 49ers running backs with Carlos Hyde, Reggie Bush, and then Mike Davis out of South Carolina, who has injury concerns, but I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure he'll be ready for week one. So, what are our thoughts on that backfield?
I think Carlos Hyde is one of those guys where the fantasy community sort of assumed opportunity, and something that always kind of scares me. I think earlier in the offseason we kind of looked at the way the roster was constructed and sort of assumed that he was going to be the feature back. And I mean, I still do think he's good enough to be a feature back. I don't know how high his ceiling is, and I'm not sure. I just don't like the Reggie Bush signing. I think that'll take away some production, and the fact that they keep drafting running backs kind of weirds me out. You know?
hmm I think Carlos Hyde has 1,000-yard potential easily, right? I mean,
Right.
you got to figure 200 carries. Usually, if you get 200 carries, you're like 80% chance to reach 1,000 yards. And if I'm thinking Carlos Hyde's going to have 230, 240, 250 plus carries, and Bush will be lucky to get 100, and he'll be more of a scat
Pass.
back, out of
Right.
a receiver out of the backfield, right? But
Hmm.
um, and it all, of course, we don't know what Tom Sula's offense is going to be like.
Right. Exactly. It's going to be totally different. So.
So we really don't really have much to look at, with Harbaugh gone. I mean, Colin Kaepernick could be the best quarterback in the league. We don't know this.
Right.
I mean, is it possible? Sure, but there's a lot of uncertainty there. But I think that with the ability and the fact that they let Frank Gore go, that Carlos Hyde is just the future, and the future is now. And I think he's a great back to have in redraft as well as dynasty. You got to think that at least 7 to 8 touchdowns, with if not possibly double digits for him, just simply because of his nose for the end zone and the fact that he's going to get so many carries.
Right.
I like him. I hate to say that because I'm not a 49ers fan, but I kind of like him.
It looks like Nathan is frozen. Oh, he's frozen. All right. Well, we'll continue to talk. I agree with you on Hyde. It's just it seems like he's valued at sort of what his what would be the best case scenario. So I'm a little afraid of him, but I tentatively like him this year.
I would kind of shy away from him a little bit in PPR leagues. Kind of look at him like an Alfred Morris type of guy. Honestly,
right.
If he has Alfred Morris,
that's a good comparison.
Then that's not bad. But he's not going to get you 30 catches or more. I just don't really see that. Maybe 20. But with Reggie Bush there, he's going to control that aspect of the game.
Let's move on to another running back, Latavius Murray. I'm interested what you guys think about him, and I'll give my take after.
Go ahead, Nate.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just going to say I like Latavius Murray. I like what he did in his brief opportunity against the Chiefs in the national audience there. That was huge.
Yeah.
A big coming out party for him. The fact that he got hurt, shortly thereafter doesn't help. But at the same time, he's someone that is, I don't want to say he's under the radar because people know about him. The question that I have is how well is the Oakland offense going to be to give him the opportunity for that chance at stardom?
Right.
He's got the size speed combination aspect. My goodness, the guy is like 225, 230 who can run in a 4.3 or a 4.4 40. That's insane. That's like Bo Jackson numbers.
Pretty much.
Seriously, maybe a snap, a little bit slower. But if Murray has an offense that can move the ball, and of course he's going to be a big part of that. And I think that he's also another running back along the same lines of a Carlos Hyde, who's going to get 200, 225, 230, 240 carries. I would even say 225 just as a floor right now for him, honestly. And more, of course, is even better. But he's someone who could produce similar results, and you can get him probably a round later than Carlos Hyde. The only question mark that I have, though, is Oakland, is the fantasy wasteland of Oakland. What is Oakland going to do different in 2015 that they couldn't do X years before?
That's yeah.
Seriously. He's an option, and he's a good player. But is he one of the best quarterbacks in the league? No, I'm not saying that. And I don't think anybody else really is. But how far can he take them?
Right.
And how well will Oakland be as an offensive team? And that's really the rate determining factor as far as me looking at Latavius Murray and his fantasy success.
Right. What do you think, Nathan?
Yeah, no, my take on Latavius has kind of been a broken record. The Raiders have shown consistently that they don't really trust him as lead back. Last year they re-signed McFadden, they signed MJD, but both were terrible, of course. But and then he played the Chiefs game, got hurt, yada yada yada. And then this offseason they signed Trent Richardson, goodness, and they signed Roy Halou. And all these things of just signing backs that aren't that good. Some people say, they're signing backs that aren't that good, so that means that they trust them. No, they're signing backs that aren't that good because they're a bad franchise.
I think there's opportunity there for him. I'm just wondering, like we've basically said, they're the Raiders. So, I think if he can get the ball rolling, not literally, hopefully, if he fumbles, then he's off the field. But if he can sort of get a few games down and show he can be the guy, then I like him. But again, he's another guy I think's being valued at his ceiling, sort of. So I'm wait and see, and I'll be happy if he can do it. But I wouldn't be buying him right now. I'd be shying away, I think.
See, I would buy him because I
Okay.
think they're going to lean on him. And who else do they have?
I
Have
think they might
Julio
have to.
Richardson.
Yeah.
They have to. They have
Yeah.
to lean on him. 200 carries, I think, is a lock. And anytime you can get a guy who is a running back who's not quite there in the fantasy scene. I mean, people know about him, of course, and there's some thoughts that, oh wow, hey, look what he did last year. But
Right.
I think there's enough people who doubt him where his value is not as high as it could be.
Interesting. So I'm not sure how many leagues you play in or how many
I
dynasties.
think, is it weird that I think I want to go buy Latavius Murray now, just within the last 3 minutes? I'm going to send offers.
Speed,
Yeah.
power, opportunity, and the fact that Oakland is leaning on him. That's huge. Another reason why I like Melvin Gordon, because San Diego is just going to lean on him
Yeah.
as much as they possibly can. And the opportunity is definitely there. Opportunity is so much, guys. So much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Nathan?
I was just gonna ask Jeff. Have you done any rookie drafts yet?
I have just done one rookie draft, and it was a mock. I have not done my league's rookie drafts yet, but it was interesting to see. It was recently, right after the draft, and shoot, I don't have it in front of me right now, but Cooper, White, I think those were the top. Did they go 1, 2, and then the running backs? But shoot, I'm trying to remember what it was. But anyway, what's your question about it?
He's vanished.
He's
But
gone.
my question is, I've been seeing quite a bit of talk about dynasty wide receivers and how much more valuable they are than running backs. I'm not afraid of taking Gordon Gurley in the top 3 this year. Is that something you're shying away from, or
No.
do you like them a lot? I love both.
I'm a little bit apprehensive on Cooper simply because, like we just said, it's the Raiders, right? So
Right.
what can happen here? But at the same time, remember when AJ Green was drafted with Cincinnati? I mean, they pretty much had a wasteland of a receivers situation there. When he got there, boom, everything picks up.
Yeah.
Could that potentially happen? Could Derek Carr be the
Game changer, but the Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton. I wanted to call him AJ Dalton. That's not right. Don't do it. Andy Dalton. But there is a possibility. Kevin White, I think, is a possibility in Chicago too, as well. I mean, there's some good players at the top of these dynasty drafts, these rookie drafts, where if you don't want to go with running back, maybe you're set at running back. I still think you go with a Gordon or a Gurley. I don't think either one.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am, and I feel like it's kind of not normal, but I think Gordon's gonna have a crazy rookie year. Like, I almost want to value him over Gurley right now because of the potential huge rookie season he's going to have, and then next offseason, if you're not high on him, then you can sell. But I mean, even if you don't like him, I think he's a buy right now,
Yeah, I agree, and I have I have Gordon ranked higher than Gurley.
Right.
And just for that reason, is that number one, you've got the injury concern with Gurley, and how quick is he going to see the field and see the field consistently,
Right.
versus Gordon, who could come in right away and be a superstar from week 1.
Right.
And San Diego is just waiting for that opportunity, and the fact that they grabbed him in the draft says an awful lot.
Yep.
Did we still lose Nathan?
I think he's back.
I'm here. I've had all sorts of troubles today.
It's all right, buddy. We still love you. Just a little less. A little less.
So we talked a little bit about this before the show, about how tight ends are interesting this year. You got the top heavy of Gronk and Graham, and I think the middle tier is kind of heavy with Bennett, Kelsey, Olsen. But that's where I see huge drop off. And so I think that finding a sleeper tight end, finding a guy that can finish as a top 6, top 7 tight end is definitely going to be a big advantage if you can do so. So do you have a tight end you're targeting in the later rounds? We'll start with you, Jeff.
And a later round tight end. Well, I mean, there's some intrigue, in my opinion, around Tyler Eifert. Okay, with Cincinnati.
Woo!
All right,
This is
so
I don't want to talk about it anymore, Jeff.
no. This is a pro. We are pro Eifert here at the Dynasty Dudes.
That's right.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I think he could be someone of interest. I think Austin Safarian Jenkins on Tampa Bay could be someone of interest. Owen Daniels with Denver. I mean, we saw some old grizzled veteran tight ends do well with Peyton Manning in the past.
Yep.
He could come in and fill that role. Josh Hill in New Orleans, because they haven't done anything else with the position other than him. And Ben Watson really isn't the answer, but Josh Hill showed some flashes. I don't think he can, come close to the production of Jimmy Graham, but I mean, heck, even if he did half of what Jimmy Graham did, he's still a fantasy target.
Do you guys think
maybe Jason Morrow with the Jets, because the Jets offense is kind of looking up a little bit, and I think he's going to be a big part. So I mean, there's some tight ends there that I've just mentioned that I will definitely be targeting as my tight end too. And I would also, if I couldn't get one of those, I would grab hopefully Fleener over Dwayne Allen, just because Fleener is a healthier option than Allen, who's only played 14 or 15 games in the last 2 years.
Yes.
But if Fleener is if he's available later, I would take a stab at him as my tight end too, hoping that maybe something happens to Dwayne Allen and that you have the opportunity to start him. Because if he's the primary tight end any given week, I mean that's fantasy money right there with Indianapolis, in my opinion. So he's someone. Kyle Rudolph is another one that I'm kind of waiting to see what he does with Teddy Bridgewater with the Vikings. The Vikings offense, guys, looks pretty good if you look at it. With Adrian Peterson, you've got Mike Wallace, you've got Charles Johnson, you've got Kyle Rudolph, and the only thing I can think of when I think of Kyle Rudolph is how damn well he played in that Pro Bowl game, where he finally had a quarterback throw him the ball. Granted, it's the Pro Bowl, right?
Hey, what's wrong with Matt Castle, man?
It's the Pro Bowl, but I mean, the way that he just dominated against those guys, it seemed like he did real well. But again, no defense in the Pro Bowl, I get that, but he has the potential to be big. Kyle Rudolph does, and we'll see what happens. So there's some names of tight ends who could come into the picture, just like last year. Like every year, we see tight ends who come into the picture. Delaney Walker was one a couple years ago. Larry Donnell was one. Jordan Reed was one. I mean, there's a lot, and you just kind of have to be at the right. Julius Thomas was one. So I mean, there's a lot. There really is, and I haven't even mentioned Eric Ebron, who's in his second year.
I need
Ladarius Green.
I need a second year progression from Eric Ebron, but we'll see if it happens. I am with you on pretty much all the guys you mentioned. Those have been the guys I've been buying. ASJ and Amaro are two guys that I like where they're valued right now.
Because you can get them late. You can get them late and just take a stab.
Yeah. And okay.
You guys named about 40 tight ends, and you didn't pick the guy that I was going to talk about.
Wait, let me guess. You are guessing, what are we going with here? Crockett Gilmore? Who's your guy?
No. It's Charles Clay, guys.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right, but we're talking Rex Ryan offense here.
Yeah,
he's not going to be used in the same light, though, I don't think. Please, I want to hear your opinion. I just don't mind. And I'm a Bills fan.
I'm a bit hesitant on how many weapons E.J. Manuel or Matt Castle can support, but the Bills paid Charles Clay like $40 million. You don't pay a tight end.
Yeah. They haven't had a good tight end in a while, too.
Don't plan on using him. That's essentially, he's going to get like 100 targets or something crazy. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen because they have to have a plan for him if you're going to pay him all that money.
That's true. That kind of got swept under the rug with like all the other stuff that's happened this offseason. They paid him a ton of money. So that's an interesting one to keep track of. Quickly, do you guys think Greg Olson's production drops off at all this year with Funchess there now? Or do you think
No.
he's all set? He's all set? Yeah.
I think he'll
that's independent.
be fine. I think he's a lock to finish inside the top 6, if not top 5.
Okay.
We haven't even talked Travis Kelce.
He's a beast.
What do you think of him? I mean, yes, he is, but is he going to be utilized as such? Is he going to have
probably
the 10
not.
targets a game?
Probably
that's
not.
my concern.
But you're gonna, as a fantasy owner, you're gonna get like that 50-yard, like he runs 50 yards for a touchdown, and you're gonna be like, all right, I don't even care. This is awesome. No, but yeah, there's definitely some potential to disappoint there.
Yeah, I mean, he still has Alex Smith as his quarterback.
Yeah.
So, I just wonder if he's being ranked too high just because of potential.
See, but I don't think it's just potential. I think that he was really, really good last year. He was underutilized a bit, but Anthony Fasano is gone, I'm pretty sure. So, and
he's with Tennessee now.
They brought in Macklin, but I don't think he eats into his production too much. I think that, if anything, one of Albert Wilson or Chris Conley, I think one of them has a decent year, wide receiver, full wide receiver, nothing crazy or whatever. And I think that's the bigger threat to Kelce than Macklin is. But I don't know. I think that Kelce is a lock for a top 5 guy, unless for some reason they start passing it.
Ooh. I might take that. I might take that bet.
Oh, okay.
A top 5?
Yeah.
I mean, I could. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think he has the talent to be awesome, and I think he already is awesome. But we'll see. I have been buying him a little bit, but I don't know.
All right,
let's wait and see.
All right, let's go over under on Kelce receptions. 70.
No, that's under. It'll be like.
Yeah, under.
It'll be like 60. 909 or something like that.
All right. How about touchdowns? I'm going to say 5.5.
Oh, way over.
No, I don't know, dude. I don't know.
I'll definitely take you over there. I'll take that to Vegas.
Well, if that's the case, then we could get Martellus Bennett probably a couple rounds later and have the same results.
Yeah, but they're going like the same round, though. Like I said, there's that tier of Bennett, Kelce, Olsen. They're pretty much all going the same place.
Yeah.
From what I've seen.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Chiefs offense.
Yeah, I really hope they can get him in basically a feature role, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
One last tight end topic, Julius Thomas with Jacksonville. Is that just like the biggest shot in the arm?
Yes.
Pain in the neck offseason move? If anyone who had Julius Thomas on their team, it's going from penthouse to outhouse here.
Literally.
With Julius Thomas. So who knows? But I mean, he could get 50, 60 catches if they really kind of look at him.
Yeah, no, I was never really a Julius fan, even in Denver. I thought, paid independent, yada, yada, yada. And then when he was going to be a free agent, I was like, okay, he's a sell, And then he went to Jacksonville, which honestly, I didn't hate Jacksonville as a spot necessarily, other than the fact that it's Blake Bortles. But we had John Moore on a couple months ago, and he was talking about like a study of like veterans who move teams, and like almost all of them always decline. So if you take that statistic into account, plus the loss in the quarterback, plus the fact that Jacksonville has Allen Robinson, Rashad Green, Marquise Lee, maybe Justin Blackman, all these guys to throw to, I just don't see a high volume. And there's the lack of Jacksonville might not score touchdowns. So there's a lot of red flags for Julius. I'm avoiding him pretty much in all formats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He had his time in the sun, though, so at least he'll have that, I guess.
That's true. He almost went to Seattle. I think he was the first option for Seattle, and because they didn't get him, then they decided, well, you know what, let's make a move for Jimmy Graham.
Mm-hmm. Wow,
isn't that something?
That worked out for them, yeah.
Yeah. So there's Julius Thomas, though. Boy.
All right.
You tell I have him in one of at least one dynasty league.
Yeah, by the groans, yes.
Yeah.
We'll get into one last word from our sponsor, and then we'll head out. Reality Sports Online is a powerful fantasy sports platform where owners get to build and manage their fantasy team like an NFL general manager. RSO features the revolutionary free agency auction room which mimics NFL free agency. Wait, mimics.
There's a dog nose on the screen.
Edit.
Enabling
From the top.
Enabling fantasy owners to compete against each other to negotiate. Dang it, dog. Negotiate and sign the NFL's top talent to single or multi-year contracts. An intuitive algorithm acts as the player's agent, automatically valuing offers using the same factors used in real life. The total amount, per year average salary, total guarantee, and contract length. In addition to its revolutionary free agency auction software, RSO's league manager has tons of other cool features, like in-season signs and cuts, multi-team up to 5, future draft pick trades, franchise tag, injury reserve, automated contract and salary cap functionality, and much, much more. Test your general manager skills out today. To participate in a free mock free agency auction at realitysportsonline.com, use the code DUDES10 to get 10% off league entry fees. Once again, that's DUDES, D-U-D-E-Z, 10 to get 10% off league entry fees. And that's what we got.
Awesome. RSO, what a great opportunity that is.
Yep. All right, so anything else to wrap up the show, or are we good?
I think we're good. Thanks for coming on today, Jeff. You filled in some blind spots for me. Now after the show, the Latavius Murray owners are going to get pelted with offers.
Let's begin. Now, we're still talking about Oakland here, but not every team can be in the cellar that long, right?
Right.
Maybe the Browns.
Oh. God, you want to talk about something more painful than the Jaguars and Julius Thomas?
Yeah.
They're right there.
All right.
Let
Thanks for
everyone
having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. But where can people find you, Jeff, on Twitter and all that jazz?
Yeah, Twitter at Jeff Haseley. It's JeffHaseley, and I definitely appreciate the conversation with folks on Twitter. So thanks so much for that.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you.